All right. How's it going, guys? Baldur here, and I am in the Hyper Arrow 3. And to be honest, I am going to be doing something incredibly stupid and something you should never do as a real pilot. And that is trying to cross the Rockies the hard way while we have rain. So I have absolutely no idea how this is going to turn out, but if it doesn't turn out, oh well. You can try something else. Yeah, so I'm not going to be doing any air traffic control for this. A lot of notch of flaps for takeoff. But otherwise, after that, we are on our own. I'm currently at Salt Lake City International Airport in the general aviation side, and what I'm going to do is that I am going to try and get to the, well, not Denver International, but the Rocky Mountain Airport, which is in Denver. Once I get there, then if I get there, I should say, it should be good. But there are going to be some issues here. Among other things, I am going to be dealing with rain, which kind of sucks, but I'll also be dealing with the downpour or the downdraft that comes with that, most likely wind that's coming from it, as well as potential icing. So this will be fun. Of course, I do have alternate air, and I do believe that this is a fuel-injected plane, so I don't have to worry about carburetor icing. Just, you know. The other, actually, do fuel injectors get icing? Probably a dumb question that I should look into, but I imagine yes. So either way, I do have alternate static air if my altimeter goes tits up. And we could be good from there. I think this goes without saying, not something you should do with your flight, if you ask me. Did I hit a pothole or something? All right. I'm just wondering, while I'm contemplating my doom, what will happen? Fuel tanks are good. Big thing about the Piper versus a Cessna is that a Cessna you can have Both fuel tanks running at the same time. Piper, you need to alternate. Otherwise, you're going to see a little bit of an imbalance. And the more I think about it, the more I should probably switch to the left side so that it can compensate for torque. And yeah, this is a long runway. Do I need the runway length? No, but it helps. I also have this. Oh, they took away all the, Well, the other thing is that I do have the EFB. I can always follow this if I'm worried about that. All right. I'm checking a checklist, so just give me 1 second. All right, so aircraft position into the wind. Well, it's not, but whatever. Mixture is full rich, propeller full forward, throttle 2000 RPM. All right. Magnetos. Seeing a drop. Back to both. 1, 2. Back to both. Okay. Alternate air. Looks good. And then let's go ahead and check our fuel mixture. All right. Annunciator is... where the hell is the Annunciator? I can't be the only one. And no, I'm not going to go off the runway. I'll try not to. All right, well, I guess I'll have to wait for that. While we're at it, I'm going to adjust my seat a little bit. Yeah, I don't want it interfering. All right. Now we can take off. And at the very least, this will be an interesting flight. Yeah, the thing about Utah is that spring is the rainy season. At least in the Salt Lake Valley. Gonna add a little bit of right aileron while I'm at it. Whoa, okay. Positive rate. Gear up. Oh boy, is this gonna get me killed. How bad is visibility here? All right, so bad idea number one is still a bad idea, but hey, nothing wrong with that. If my virtual self gets into a plane crash, at least it's not me getting into a real crash. For some more that I think about it, oh wow, it's kind of clearing up. Okay, that works. Alright, this is manageable. Very fun last words, right? So when it comes down to the ceiling that we have right now, it is no longer a case of east is least, west is best. So I'm just going to double check. Oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to climb into the clouds. This would be IFR conditions, in all honesty. Am I seeing icing? No, I'm not. Oh wait, maybe I am. No, it doesn't look like it. But yeah, canyon number 1 is going to be interesting. So turbulence kicks in. Getting buffeted what feels like downdrafts. Biggest thing about being in the mountains is understanding wind, visibility, and all that stuff. We got a lot of cumulogranite in this area, though the visibility is manageable so far. Yeah, once we get past this canyon, we should be heading into another valley. That's where Park City is. We can go south to Heber afterwards. Yeah, I'm sticking my head out the window. Is that cheating? Yeah, probably. All right, now we're in IFR conditions. And the higher I climb, the worse the clouds are going to be. Very cloudy. But not bad. Following the freeway. At least the freeway is still visible. And terrain is now passable. If this were a Cessna, I would probably be dead by now. Then again, if this were a Cessna with a G1000, visibility would not be a factor. Yeah, legally, I would not be flying that close to houses. That looks less than 500 feet. But yeah, here we go, into cleaner canyons. Well, now is it getting snowy? It doesn't look like it. Honestly, though, this is fun, just flying up Parleys with such terrible conditions. Maybe I don't need them fancy avionics. Though with that in mind, climbing is a good idea. Plane has the horsepower, might as well use it. The only issue is that I've been full throttling it almost the entire time, and I don't want to screw the engine over. Speaking of which, how's my fuel? Feels good. Don't need to swap tanks yet. Whoa. That was a pretty bad descent. Okay, there we go. That pass looks a little sketchy, but it's not as sketchy as it looks. All right, so that's a reservoir. I forgot which one that was. Or I know which one that is, I just don't know the name of it. Okay, so all things said and done, we are good. I wish this could be attached somewhere, but this is a Flight Simulator 2020 flight. This is what I'm paying attention to, not this. All right, 8,500 is probably a good place to cruise. The cruising altitude will vary depending on necessity. And we got like a good ground speed going. And is the... No, the rain's not letting up, is it? Alright, so I think I'm in Heber, which is a small town in the mountains. In fact, I think KHCR is Heber County Regional. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why you always turn the fuel pumps on before you switch tanks, especially in a sim where you forget which direction the scroll wheel should go. Yeah, so part of my flight plan is this fork in the road. I'll take the left fork. That'll take me down another canyon. Nice, it's no longer raining. Still keeping the pitot heat on. And at a good 120 knots, you can see that we have a bit of altitude leeway going into this canyon right here. I'm not going to name every single canyon because honestly, I'm not that much of a geography buff, but it is something that I do enjoy. I'm getting some more rain again. Yeah, the other thing about mountains is that their weather changes vastly. At a good 8,500, let's see what's ahead of us. Oh yeah, I love this sketch because if you haven't noticed, we've been climbing the entire time. We're at 8,500 feet, and I'm probably going to need to climb again. Yeah, big one is that this is the freeway that I want to follow, at least according to the route that I have on my other screen. Yeah, so far we're all good. You may call it cheating, I call it track IR. And yes, I love how I press the VFR button despite the fact that these flight rules are barely visual. Legally, this wouldn't be VFR. And on a day like this, you wouldn't see any planes fly through the mountains like this. Either fly over the mountains or don't fly at all. Oh boy, we're getting a bunch of updrafts, which is fine. Better to go up than down. Plus, we're at a good speed, so not like that's going to be a huge factor. You know what? I honestly like Coronado and their planes. Seems like they almost completely specialize in general aviation, and truth be told, I love that. Coronado's still around? I think it is. But yeah, I hope this emphasizes a point that I have very little wiggle room, and that climbing up to 9,000 feet may not be the worst idea. But it seems like I am getting a headwind, at least from how the plane is performing. And definitely some cumulogranite. Full throttle again. Gonna lean the mixture a little bit. So that we get better performance. Not really at risk at hitting this mountain, so I'm gonna cut like that. Whoa, this thing really pushed me down. And yeah, I would definitely consider this an ice hazard, an icing hazard, I should say. But we're about to enter a valley. Followed by a lake. I see parts of a lake. I'd definitely be calling this IFR. And now we have icing. Bad icing, actually. there like a cabin heat switch here? Yes. Might help a little bit. Keto heat still works. Static still works. Oh, crap. Now we have a problem. God, I had no idea. I only had 40 minutes to live. Or an hour to live. Yeah, so this right here is a dam, so I'm going to be following that for a while. And ooh, it looks like it's clearing out good. Not a moment too soon. All right, so I'm going to be flying through this canyon next. Ice is still on the wings, but not my cabin. Wind is still an absolute bitch. Though, seems like everything is good to go. And in this case, it actually makes me wonder. This is going to be going onto YouTube, so should this be a full flight? Probably not, but yeah, the reason why there's icing on the wing but not in the cabin is because I have cabin heat. I don't really have anti-ice boots on my wing or anything like that. In fact, I don't even think there's bleed air on anything this plane. It's just non-existent. I don't think there's a turbocharger. Yeah, maybe going up to 9,500 would be nice. It's hard to keep altitude in the mountains just because this is tossing me all over the place. Yeah, it doesn't seem like that ice is going away. Nor do I probably need it. I may have actually outpaced the rain. The other thing is that the west of the Rockies, particularly the Utah side, is going to get more snow than the eastern part of the Rockies, which is the Denver side. And, you know, that's because most of the storms we get in the west come from the Pacific Ocean. And Utah is no exception to that. Granted, Colorado will get a lot of storms from the Midwest, so that's worth factoring in. Yeah, notice how my flight is pretty much very similar to heading on to my technical first leg of the flight, or second leg of the flight. That's because by the time I get there, my not so custom route will show me the way, and it looks like we are losing some ice. Good. Still keeping the pitot heat on. And I'm still checking the fuel. Once the fuel gets to about 20, then I'll switch, yeah, that far down, I'll switch it to the left tank. And then from there, left tank will go down to 10. Right tank will be the remainder of the flight. Until it gets too low, then switch back to left. Assuming it costs that much fuel for me to get there, which I don't think is the case. Yeah, look at the beautiful mountains right here. I love the Colorado Rockies, and anyone who has been on Amtrak crossing the Rockies would tell you how gorgeous it is. There's just something scenic about the entire thing. And as snowy as these places can get, it's still pretty much kind of a desert, especially in the summer. Now, I don't know if that was always the case or due to climate change, but yeah, the Rocky Mountains are generally dry until we get to the winter. Pay no attention to the rain, but as you can tell, no rain here, even though it was torrential when we took off. But all things are good. I am really going to wonder how I'm going to fit this all in. More rain once again. At least we can see. There's a bright side to that, right? Now that we're into a more valley area, should be good. As it stands right now, I do believe that I am in or near the Uinta reservation. And since we're in the Uinta reservation, we followed the river down to there. Oh yeah, we actually were for quite a while. But yeah, I do believe this is Strawberry Reservoir, or this is Starvation Reservoir, and we just passed the Strawberry Reservoir. And yes, it is called the Starvation Reservoir. Don't ask me why that is, but I do enjoy how kind of funny it is. Yeah, we are absolutely good on things now. Ice is cleared out. Visibility is good. And we're actually about to hit our first leg. Weird how much I actually had to deviate from the GPS flight plan, but I guess that is what it is. If I had an FMC or MCDU, it would be a lot easier for me to punch those coordinates in. Which makes me wonder, why don't you see more planes with those? Like in the general aviation area. They're obviously bigger and more popular in turboprops, but why not your average Cessna or Piper? And why can't Garmin make their own? Oh well, I guess that goes to show that not everything can be perfect. Oh yeah, we're definitely on reservation territory because that is all farm and ranch land over here. Oh, okay. Yeah, fun fact, the Uinta Valley, the Uinta Reserve is the second largest Native American reserve next to the Navajo Nation. But here things are going to be calm, and we're actually going to see the biggest change in our flight path. Well, this is going to be our longest leg, I should say. Just cruising into this little valley area. Or not a valley, a basin. Yeah, we can actually see some blue in the sky this time. And I gotta lounge back my chair a little bit. Because my back be hurting otherwise. But yeah, this is a very nice flight. Things are going pretty smooth. Another thing is that I've been doing a lot of curls lately, and that's not a brag. The reason why I bring that up is because my right arm is kind of sore, and I'm using a Thrustmaster Warthog control for this plane. Yeah, weird choice, but I'm sticking with one peripheral so I don't get swamped with things that I don't have or need. Plus, my computer's in my room, not at my office. I don't even have an office. Visibility is about to get poor again. And I'm gonna need to give my arm a rest. The pain is right in my joints. I am also wondering if I should get my webcam out so that people can see me lazily try to fly this plane. That's what everyone seems to want. I just think it's kind of weird because I make weird faces when I'm focusing on something. You know, I'm very much the person who will stick his tongue out when I'm putting a thread through the eye of a needle. But here's the thing, once I'm done with this, I'm going to end up with a bit of an issue. Because I'm going to have to go back into the Rockies. Well, I am in the Rockies, but what I'm saying is that... don't beep at me. Anyway, I'm going to descend for visibility's sake, and I'll definitely climb back up if it becomes an issue. But the main issue that I'm going to have is that after I'm outside this basin, which is a nice basin, mind you, I'm still going to have to go through another part of a Rockies, and this one is an absolute bitch to try and get to Denver from. Because this is where the Rockies really get high. And this looks like rain, Jesus Christ. Yeah, I think I'm going to stick at 7,000. And deal with more crap visibility. And rain, of course. Lots of rain, actually. I'm about to enter Ray Charles mode. And am I seeing any indications of icing? No, not yet, but we're definitely in that area. I can also tell you that this is very much IFR conditions. So that'll be enjoyable. Whoa. Seeing that I have no landmarks, this will be fun. At least I have my GPS telling me how screwed I am terrain-wise. And the answer is not quite screwed yet. Still pretty high up there in altitude, but nothing I can't manage. Probably not yet. All right, back into rain once more. Yeah, I'm wondering if I'm in Colorado yet. I do see some cumulogranite though. Any of them at risk for killing me? Yes, absolutely. I'm also probably going to be doing a huge deviation from the flight path soon because I remember going south. Oh yeah, well, not yet, but there is going to be some southbound movement when I get into the canyons. At least I can see things now. Yeah, it's only been an hour and 24 minutes since the live stream started, not since I've been flying. This plane is hauling ass, and I do like it. Because, yeah, I do believe that we were in the Utah Rockies. Now we're going to be heading into the Colorado Rockies, which I'm going to be taking a little bit of a risque route. Hang on. The risque route is going to be in the canyon that leads to Steamboat Springs, which is a ski town in Colorado. Yeah, gorgeous scenery at least. I do believe that is a canyon that I'm going to next, unless... That's probably where I'm going. Okay. Alright, I'm going to be doing a 360. To really climb. Okay, now it looks much better. Still need to climb, though. Right, so it seems like the fuel mixture is actually properly set, so I can't extract any more horsepower from that. But I'm already climbing over this mountain, so... Oh, plus the GPS says I am golden. I wouldn't say golden, but definitely better. Yeah, I believe that's the highway that takes you to Steamboat Springs. Yeah, let's climb up to 9,500. And then while we're doing that, let's switch tanks. Without overstating the obvious, performance is better than fuel efficiency, which is why I'm setting it to the highest cruise. Also, it says I've been flying for 2 hours. I don't think that's true. Or maybe it is. Who knows? But that doesn't matter. Is that a poorly printed out lake on Google Maps or Bing Maps? Oh, you know, there is actually a mod that allows you to switch the type of maps around, at least for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. Just a fun little factoid there, but it is pretty good. Yeah, it's still turbulent. I kind of spoke too soon, but it's a lot easier for me to maintain a level flight. And going to be crossing into higher elevation. And, ooh. And considering that looks like a downburst, which I'm not going anywhere freaking near. I'll just move to this area. Plus, this will take me more to Steamboat Springs anyway. And if you're wondering, yes, this was in fact pre-planned. Yeah, I believe it's that little valley over there that I need to get to. Otherwise, yeah. We are so far in nature, it's not even funny. And these are the areas with roads. Some places are so remote in the West. You wouldn't see any roads whatsoever. Though, also at the same time, I am driving, or I am flying by using canyons, roadways, and towns as a reference point, as well as a few rivers, which that part is a lot more remote. Oh yeah, I think the flight path I was thinking about would be taking me through that canyon. I mean, it would have worked, just would have been very topsy-turvy. Few iron deposits here and there. Oh, that's a mesa, or plateau, whatever you want to call it. Or is that a butte? The more I talk, the more I realize I'm not that great at geography. Probably more so than the average American, though. Just because there are places outside the United States that do interest me, places I do want to travel to, and places I learn more about. Not to mention that this is my neck of the woods, or at least used to be. Born and raised in Utah until I moved to California. So I do know the area, at least the Salt Lake area. Once you get into the mountains, that's where things get a little bit weird, but not horribly weird. It doesn't even say where my... VC 243, all right. Lost a bit of altitude while doing some crap, and oh yeah, now I remember. I was gonna be an idiot and use this canyon to fly through. Yeah, I'm not doing that. That would have been bad. What's also going to be bad is this final mountain range. That's the last hurdle till we get to Denver. And then once we get to Denver, everything is good. At least I hope so. Yeah, we're not there yet, but this is where things are going to get really hairy. Yeah, I am on the left tank. Needed to double check. It's like, wait, is this backwards? No, it's not. we're going to be following this road for a little bit. At least until we get to a part that doesn't get us killed. I'm not going to be flying into that rain cloud. In fact, that almost looks like a microburst, considering how concentrated it is. But yeah, if I suddenly start climbing a lot, then I would have to ride into the climb. Otherwise, I'm just avoiding the freaking place. I'm getting closer to Steamboat Springs, but yeah, I definitely think we're in Colorado now, or at the very least, the border between Utah and Colorado. Also, I have no regrets choosing a plane with a retractable landing gear for this task, because I think if I did try the Cessna 172, it would not be possible, because look, I'm at 9,500 feet. That takes a while for a Cessna to get up there. I don't care if it's fuel injected. The only upside I would have is that I would have the G1000. That would completely help me in canyons. Otherwise, it is what it is. Jesus. My computer is really heating up my room just because of how demanding it is. I mean, absolutely gorgeous if you ask me. And with fairly good frame rates. Yeah, I had to double check and see if the gear was up. Don't know why. Could have just checked right here. But yeah. Once we do get into more difficult terrain, this is where things really start to get weird because I'm going to be doing a J motion in the flight plan. In other words, the canyon I'm going through is south of here, and it's going to take me to a canyon that's north of here, which should take me into the Denver area, probably around near Fort Collins, if I recall. But once we get there, we'll head to Colorado and Denver land. And then maybe visit a Mile High Club, you know? But for now, we can just relax. Nice straight and level flight. Kind of following the flight plan. Not really. Still a bit of concern. Got some more cumulogranite off in the distance. Another thing about VOR, even though I violated a ton of that, is that as long as you can see the ground anywhere, you're in VFR conditions. That doesn't mean what you're doing is wise, though. Got a lot of ranches down there. Alright. Back to rain. And that's fine by me. But not something to worry about. At least this isn't like what I had in Utah. Of course, I'm making the assumption that this is better. Well, I have no evidence. I think that was thunder I just heard. Which, okay. Biggest issue now is turbulence and downdraft. Probably more so downdraft considering the rain. But there could also be some icing, which is always a concern. I have that on. Yeah, this plane is definitely getting a wash. Yeah, that's 108 nautical miles, nowhere near where I am. AHON, I do believe that is Steamboat Springs. Oh, HDN, that's Hayden. All right, Ray Charles mode activate. Yes, I am going to hell, and I'm okay with that. We'll just figure out whether I'm going to hell today or some other day once I either land or crash. Well, definitely have to trim it for descent. Get back to... Should I... Honestly, I don't know whether I should climb or descend. The safer solution is usually to climb because, you know, more altitude away from the mountains. But getting too high, we might end up in worse icing conditions than we were already in. I haven't been seeing any ice so far. Helps that the heater's on, but I don't think that affects the wing. Keto heat has always been on, so I'm not too worried about that. Yeah, almost there. Oh. Got ourselves a little bit of a downdraft. We're in the thick of it. Flying into this, we should be good. Is it a fool's errand to try and get to the level flight I covet so much? Probably not. Yeah, look how badly this is tossing me around. Oh well, my altitude is whatever at this point. I see no visible signs of icing. So we'll just have to ride out the storm. Oh yeah, that was definitely lightning, or... Oh yeah, lightning, but that was definitely thunder that I heard. This is the beauty of anti-static wigs. My ground speed is ridiculous, so I'm getting a nice tailwind here. Which makes sense, because if this is part of the rainstorm that I experienced yesterday, then that would make sense that it would be here at this moment. And yeah, as you can see, there are some places for me to go, as opposed to actually, I'm over 10,000 feet now. Okay. Yeah, even then, it would not be a good thing to cross. So, as mentioned before, I'm following this instead of this. As you can tell, they're a bit different. All right, there we go. Yeah, that is lightning. And I am still climbing. God, why do I feel like lightning is going to strike my plane and then it's going to translate through my HOTOS? I'm freaking paranoid about that. No, honestly, the biggest thing about a thunderstorm is not the lightning. It is the updrafts, downdrafts, the icing, the turbulence, the lack of visibility. You generally don't want to fly into that, not even if you're in a jet. Actually, I should probably definitely avoid that mountain, but I should try to get into there instead, this valley, or this canyon. Yep, definitely some cumulogranite to my left. Really, more lightning? Okay. Fine by me, as long as I can get through this canyon. But for the most part, this is just, you know, something I should probably just thread. Of course, being in the middle of a thunderstorm, things are kind of weird. So the more altitude I have, the better. But it's still pretty nice. Yeah, this is where things really start to get weird because I really have to follow this like I would follow the Bible. My flight plan, that is. The one I made in the flight planner that won't translate because of custom waypoints. Go me. And I am getting a lot of up. Whoa, 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 whoa. Yeah, I just started to notice how things are really starting to change. And it is turbulent, but that's fine. All right. I can probably cross this mountain range safely because I am going to be using this river or this freeway as a reference point. All right. Now the risk of cumulogranite has really caused an issue. But this is the second to last peak that I have to worry about. All right, I'm gonna thread this little canyon over here. Yeah, Jesus, this is crazy. But I have a better definition of where the mountains are, which is always good. And it looks like we are clearing that. Yay. just so that we don't clip this mountain. Yeah, I'm starting to think this would not be possible in a Cessna. Now, normally, if you wanted to cross the Rockies, you would go up north, more so into the Wyoming region, where the mountains aren't as tall. But so far, so good. Oh, cool little spring on top of that plateau. That's not icing, so that's good. Yeah, my fuel mixture is leaned pretty far. Yeah, we're just going to be following this valley. Yeah, so nice little canyon valley that I'm flying through. It's been 2 hours and 22 minutes now that I've gone through this batshit insane flight, but hey, it works. So just so you know, we're going to be flying towards that delta in order to follow that river. Yeah, I think I'm just going to fly over the mountain. Oh. That's actually pretty good. At least for now. Yeah, I'll definitely want to steer clear of that. And honestly, this makes me want to live in the Rockies. Get like that small town South Park experience. Ooh, yep. This is going to get very interesting once again, because after I reach this lake, I'm going to be heading up north and probably going to require some climbing. Ooh, definitely going to require some climbing in order to get through this, which is fine. Oh boy. So yeah, I think this is going to be the tallest peak that I've had to do, which I know this plane can do it. Have a good Carenado spirit and good Carenado programming. Oh yeah, I guess the plane itself also helps. Why take the variable out of it? I'm going to be climbing to, well, about as much as my GPS says it's safe. Because as you can see, a giant wall of rock. Well, there's this narrow canyon right about here. Also, if this were nighttime, I would be putting on an oxygen mask. Does this thing even have an oxygen mask? Or is my virtual self getting suffering from the effects of hypoxia? Am I suffering from the effects of hypoxia? I need to stop saying some cloud coverage, which is fine. Yeah, something tells me the fuel mixture is not going to be any better than this. So we'll see how it goes. Admittedly, though, this is a very gorgeous place. I wonder how cheap or expensive it is. Yeah, you can see where I'm going with this canyon idea. And once we pass this range, that's it. We'll descend it to around 6,000 feet. And then set up our approach for Rocky Mountain Metro Airport, KBJC. Yeah, I'm not going to be landing in Denver. The difference between Denver's airport and Salt Lake's airport, I mean, aside from the fact that Denver's airport is freaking massive, is that the They don't really have a general aviation presence, as far as I know. Granted, it's such a big airport, like size-wise, then it might work. Maybe it does. Maybe I'm just talking out of my ass. As long as I can see the peaks in front of me, I should be good. Checking out the fuel. We're still good on it. But granted, while this may take about 3 hours to get to Denver, a commercial flight, particularly a passenger flight, would take about 40 minutes. I mean, yeah, 11,500 feet. A little bit high up there, but this plane can definitely handle that altitude. As well as being able to cruise at a proper speed, 145 knots ground speed. Absolutely. 129 is indicated. Works for me as well. God, I'd love to live here. Whoa. Could have ended right then and there. And yeah, look at this beautiful lake. And that's causing me to go down, or why did I say that? I was gonna say the fuel tanks looks like they're going down. Yeah. Fine little updraft, isn't it? Man, I thought that the Utah Rockies were a challenge. Not so much, apparently. Not quite yet. This is definitely the windiest part of my journey. Yeah, I want to stay below 12,000 unless I have to. Yep, I see where we're going now. I need to go through here, which has a very sus rainbow obscuring my view. I'm assuming that the change in airspeed is a wind shear. Don't think they're gusts. Yeah, no, you're not descending, motherfucker. Don't try to pull that on me. All right, so after this rainbow, which I'm guarantee you is gonna have some rain in it. It's gonna be a straight shot to Denver. It's like I'm a fortune teller. This is our last bout of rain. I'll be happy. Oh, what was that bump? All right, at least according to the GPS, I'm not at risk of hitting any mountains. But I will have to pay more attention to my instruments because I am climbing and descending all over the place. Yep, I see nothing. And yep, there is now some ice buildup. I love how my hours are just when I first start. Not even that, it seems like 30 minutes has passed prior. Oh. Ben Zupi. I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly, but sure. I do believe my Discord is in the description. Oh, if not, yeah, I can send you one. But yeah, currently not at the moment. I mean, assuming you're legit, of course. Sorry for my cynicism. Oh. All right. starting to deviate a little bit, but yeah, I think at this point I am past the Rockies for the most part. So I'm gonna pull up the METAR. All right. 10 statute miles of visibility. Doesn't freaking look like it. Overcast at 7,000. Yeah, that explains it a little bit more. With broken clouds at... How could it be at flight level 041? The airport elevation is higher. Do I want to know what the NOAA is saying? Because that is kind of weird. Oh well. No, don't climb, descend. All right. All Alright, we are officially past the Rockies. Well, the mountain range that Denver is close to. I think we're over Fort Collins. Alright, ice starting to melt away. That's good. Oh boy, visibility is garbage, and this plane is not rated for such crap. Okay, are we getting out of the crap? That works. Yeah, I'm gonna need to gain some altitude because I was less than 1,000 feet above ground. And the airport is about 5,500 feet, so I'm going to do 6,500 feet for that. Ah. And just for the sake of it, I'm going to do this one more time. There we go. Yeah, now that we got past this mountain range, we should be able to land at this airport. Visibility seems good. I know it's going to get a little bit crummy, but fine. Yeah, I'm not going to bother with it. Yeah, 240 at 6 knots. I should probably... let's get it back to cruising power. Change the fuel mixture a little bit. And that's probably going to be our landing mixture. Definitely getting a left turn tendency, and that's probably due to the fuel. Nice suburbs, by the way. And we're going to get another low visibility situation here, close to landing. Nope. Not a much I can really say towards this. Also, I don't trust the person who was messaging me. Too scammy, if you ask me. And yes, I can be a cynic. I was wondering what was going on with the seatbelts. These buttons work? Ah, that would have been fun. Illegal, but fun. Also, that guy's handle was made like 3 days ago, so I don't believe that this guy is, legit. Let's see. More or less, I just gotta follow this road. Well as big freaking department stores. Walmart. that broken? I guess it is. Good to know. I have an annunciator panel failure. Oh, that said, oil pressure, oil temps are good. As well as the alternator amps. For a moment there, I was a little perplexed. It's like, oh, please don't tell me I'm in a negative voltage. Things are breaking. And yeah, things are becoming less visible because I'm also climbing. It does want me to do a bit of a convoluted approach, but I think I'm going to go with a standard traffic pattern approach more than anything else. Are those freaking ranches? Who knows? Really? Oh, no, wait, there we go. Nope, don't see it. And this does look like airport in sight. All right, runway in sight. To be approaching about 75 knots. Okay, yeah, that airport just came out of nowhere, but... Alright, landing gear down. Good. Flaps full. Crosswind, I understand, so I'm going to... All right. Welcome to Rocky Mountain Metropolitan Airport. These lights are all screwed up. But that's fine. The fact that I made it is good. That was a crazy flight, if I'm going to be honest. But it was also a planned flight as opposed to my Cache County or Morgan County flight. So landing light off, strobe off. Transponder on standby. Yeah, through the icing, bad conditions, having to scale the mountains, pushing this plane to its absolute limit. I'd say I did a pretty good job. Though for now, I'm just going to taxi and park. I was on the right altimeter as well. That's good. And a bunch of general aviation planes while I run over the lights. Probably blow my tire in the process. Is that a Kristen Eagle? That's pretty cool. Seeing what everything has. Bitch has my parking spot. All right, so now that we did this, let's go ahead and get our avionics off. And Hope you guys enjoyed, and as always, you have a nice day.